Drop 2 voicings are often made into these mysterious things that you have to practice for several weeks and just working on technical exercises and inversions and then hope to get into your playing. But of course that's not true at all. So in this video I'm going to go over a few simple exercises that you can start working on. Then I'm going to talk about how you can remember the different chord voicings and also how you can immediately start using them in your playing. My name is Larsen, learn jazz, make music. First I'm going to go over a few different voicings because actually with 3 different types of voicings then we can play most of the things that we need to play if we're playing jazz songs. I'm going to go over those exercises and talk about how you apply them to chords, and I'm also going to talk a little bit about how you learn to remember them and make that a little bit easier. Then I'm going to apply this to a song because you don't really know these voicings and really have any benefit from checking them out until you start using them in comping. You do that on a song, and I'm going to use a tune, Solar, that is probably most famous from Miles Davis, but in fact he stole it from a jazz guitarist called Chuck Wayne. Solar is in the key of C minor, and we need some voicings for the first chord, the tonic minor chord, and here I'm using a C minor 6 chord. For the top string set that would be these 4 voicings. C minor 6 consists of 4 notes, and that would be these notes: C, E flat, G, and A. And if we play an inversion of that starting on A, then that would be these notes. So A, C, E flat and G, and that's an A half diminished chord. So we can also use these voicings for A half diminished, and if we have an F bass note and then play the same notes, so again starting from A, then in fact we have an F7 with a 9. You can also use this voicing for an alto dominant, but I'm gonna cover that in another video. Since we can use this voicing for the tonic minor, the half diminished and the dominant chord, then we have now covered these chords in Solar. We still need to cover minor 7 and major 7 voicings in Solar. If we look at the minor 7 voicing, then playing a C minor 7 voicing on the top string set would look like this. C minor 7 is of course C, E flat, G and A. And you can also look at this voicing in different ways and give it another root and then cover some more voicings with it. Because in fact, if we have a C minor 7, then if we put an A flat in the bass, then we have an A flat major 7 with a 9. And that means that our C minor 7 voicings work really well for A flat major 7 sounds as well. This means that now we've covered these voicings in Solar and we're only missing one chord, namely the final G7 flat 9. The easiest way to play a G7 flat 9 is to play a B diminished chord, because that is in fact a G7 flat 9 without the G. And if we play that on the top string set, then we get these 4 voicings. Notice that that's the same voicing because that voicing is in fact symmetrical. So if we move it, then it's just going to be the same fingering moving along the neck. Now we've covered the G7 flat 9 and the minor 7 and the major 7 voicings, and we can actually play through Solar. And if I comp through the song just using one voicing per chord, then that sounds like this. With these voicings, it's about being practical. So you see, I'm only playing one voicing per chord just to keep it really simple. And then the first one, so the tonic C minor, I'm using this C minor 6. And the way to remember that, I think, is really, and a lot of stuff with remembering is about associating them with other voicings that you already know. That's the easiest way to remember something. So you kind of put them in the same box as another chord that you already know, and that way it gets a lot easier to use it, so that you just have that option as well when you're thinking about playing a C here. Then you probably think about playing either this C minor 6 or maybe a C minor 7, and then the leap to get to this one is not that big, and that makes it a lot easier to start using this one when you're playing. That's really what we want to achieve here. It's not so important that you know all the inversions and that you can play all of them right away. You just start with them one at a time and try to make music with that one. That's way more efficient. That's gonna improve your overall playing. So that's how I'm choosing the C minor 6. For the G minor, the next voicing, so I'm using this one. And I think the way that I sort of think about that one is probably like this, which is like a campfire chord actually, of a minor 7. Or you can also associate it with this G minor 9 that you might already know. So again, it's not identical to that one, but it's just a way of thinking, okay, it's a variation of that voicing, and that makes it easier to remember and also sort of adds that as an option. The C7 here is of course an E half diminished or a G minor 6 voicing, but I really think of it as being a variation of this C7, because then the leap to this one is not so big. The F major 7 is a little bit more tricky, because here I'm really using this voicing, which very much is an A minor 7 voicing, the way that we think about it. That's probably how we know it also. And I guess you want to associate that with something like this, F major 7 with a 9, and that way realize that you can use this one. Now we've covered the first tonic minor chord, and then also the first 2-5-1, and actually that already covers most of the song, because if we really think in terms of 2-5-1 and in terms of sort of longer chord progression, and recognize that some of the other chord progressions are also 2-5-1s, then we can just reuse those voicings. So for the F, the 2-5-1 and F, we have G minor, C7 to F major 7, and I can just reuse that on the 2-5-1 in E flat, so F minor, B flat 7 to E flat major 7. Then I could use the exact same voicing on the 2-5-1 in D flat that follows. I do the 2-5 the same, but then I resolve to another, so really would go down to this F minor, but I'm going up to this one. And the reason why I'm doing that is because the next thing that happens is the 2-5 back to C minor, and I need a D half diminished, so that would be this voicing. And then a G7, so the G7 flat 9, I'm using this diminished voicing. Now that we have voicings for a whole chorus of Solar, then of course you could try and work with the inversions, but I think it's actually more useful to just take the voicings that we have now and then just add some different melodic options, because then you can actually play a lot more and you can do a lot more with the voicings that you have, and it's really gonna open up how you comp. Really not using any theory, I'm just being really practical and just taking the notes that are close by that I can use and not think too much about it. For the C minor 6, I'm also using this 9. So really I just have two melody notes here. And then that's really the melody I'm playing on top of it. So, and the same practical approach is really used on the G minor 7, C7. Here I just lift this finger and then I have the C as another melody note. Actually I don't do that until I get to the C7, so... And then F major 7. Now here I have the D as a note that I can easily get to. And then the F minor 7, again just using the C, and then the B flat is really easy to play. Same on the B flat 7. And that's what I'm using also on the last one. And then we get just the basic minor 2-5 back. So with this example, I'm not immediately going to other inversions. I'm really just focusing on that one set of voicings so that we can play the song, that we can make music with it, and then I'm expanding on that by adding some melody notes. And I think the best way to add more inversions is actually the same. So that's what I'm gonna do now. I'm gonna take the stuff that I can already play music with, and then I'm gonna add stuff to it, so I'm expanding what I have available when I'm playing. And in this, I'm also starting to use the flat 9 dominant on some of the other dominants, just to add a little bit of variation. That sounds like this. The first part of this is not really adding anything because the C minor is just sticking with the C minor 6 and the C minor 6 with a 9. And that's the melody I'm making. On the G minor 7, I start with this one, but then I'm moving down to take the inversion that's below here. So walking up, using that melody note here, C7 flat 9, and then another inversion. And then we get the good old F major 7, which is of course an A minor 7 voicing. And then F minor 7 is also just really what we already know. B flat 7, first with a 9 and then with a flat 9. Then the normal E flat major 7. Then on the E flat minor 7 I'm using another inversion, so I'm going up to this inversion of the, so we have, this one was what I was using first, then I'm moving up to the one above that, and then moving up further for the A flat 7, and another inversion also for the D flat major 7. So here I'm really introducing a few other inversions that I'm using. And the same goes for the final 2/5, using this D half diminished, and then of course it's easy to move to this diminished voicing for the G7. So the focus here really stays on taking something very simple and then start working on making music with that, and then adding to that so that you're always able to make music with what you're adding to it. I think this is a really useful way to approach pretty much anything you want to learn when it comes to playing jazz or playing any kind of music. If you want to see how you can take this same type of approach and then not only work with Drop2 voicings but also use other different kinds of voicings like triad-based voicings and shell voicings, then check out this video where I'm going over Satin Doll and really using different kinds of voicings, different kind of melodies, and a lot of different options that you have available working with this.